Welcome to DevTips, everybody. My name is Travis Nielsen, and we be building stuff today. This is the fourth video in a series called How to Create a Responsive Professional Website from Start to Finish. If this is the first time you've ever seen a DevTips video, click here for the playlist of this whole series up to this point. You may want to start at the beginning, but I don't care. You be you. Sassy.
Before we start, I want to point out that if you go to the GitHub page, the DevTips GitHub page here at github.com/devtips, you'll find a new repo called Artist's Theme. You can download this project at any stage in our progression and check out the code for yourself and follow along. Also, the Photoshop document is included in the repo, so you can just have that for free. You can also fork the repo and fix any of the dumb mistakes I made. So if you catch something that I didn't do or haven't done in my project roadmap or just make it more awesome than I'm currently making it, I'll mention your name here and I'll feature your fork and I'll talk about why it's awesome here on the show. So please, by all means, take a look at the GitHub repo. The link is in the description of the video. You can also subscribe on GitHub by watching it here, and you'll get the updated code a few days earlier than the videos actually come out. So that's cool. All right, let's start this session by looking at our Trello board. And we can see that all of the sections are in the design column. Now let's start from the top, and we're going to work our way down. We're going to be moving them into the development column as we work on them. The first card here is the asset collection. I have a little starter file that I use for all of my project, and it includes Bourbon and jQuery, so we already have those. Now for the font, I went to Google Fonts and got Open Sans, and I included the light, normal, and bold weights of Open Sans into our project. So that's the general assets. Now I need to start with the header, and we can see that we need that background image. We need to extract from the PSD and also the logo up at the top here. I kind of wanted to get into the coding first before I start extracting those elements. So if I run over to my rendered website, as it is, I just have this placeholder paragraph that I put in there just to make sure my font's showing up and that everything's rendering like it should. My CSS is working and everything like that. So the first thing that I want to do is create a section called header. Create a space so I can put in my HTML for the header. And in Jekyll, if I create a folder called _includes, I can then include specific files and then inject them into the HTML at a later point. And I want to call this one header. .html, and I'll say header, bro. Woo! And then I want to take my index, and notice that I have these 3 lines up at the top. Those 3 lines are requisite for my main root level template. So this tells Jekyll that this is going to be rendered, and so I'm going to include this that header that you saw me create. And it wouldn't work if I didn't have those 3 lines at the top. That's kind of important. And it's also why I have it in the SAS files. So if I do mustache bracket %, and then I write include header.html and save, I can refresh my project over here and see header bro. Okay, so that HTML file here is getting pulled into my index file right here. And so my main project will just be a series of include scripts, and that way I can kind of make my project more modular and easy to find certain things and change certain things as necessary. Okay. Now I also want to create a space in my assets folder for a new section called header. So I'll create a new file and call it header. In fact, I'll call it _header. Any file that has an underscore in front of it in Jekyll does not get directly imported into your _site directory. Header.sas, and I'm going to go into my sections directory and write import header. Now if I write my header.sas, just make sure it's working. Body, background, pink, and refresh. background is pink. Okay, so I know that that's working with that quick test. So I have a development environment now that supports a place for markup for my header, and also a place to style my header. And that's really what I want to be focusing on for this section in the video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is block out this whole area here, and I'm going to call it a header. I'm going to use the header tags to do that. Now, if you look back way in the history of DevTips, there's one of the early videos, and I talk about how to mark up a website, and I talk about how you do it kind of just, you're basically describing what you see. And so I'll show you that now. Header, use the header tag, and I see a space at the top for a logo. I'll put div class logo. And that doesn't need to always be a div, but I'm just talking right now. I'm describing with my code what I'm seeing with my eyes, and I'm going to see I see a nav, and then in that nav I see a series of links, href. I see about me. What is that for? There's 4 links here. So about me, work, clients, and contact. Cool. And then after that, I see a big headline. So I'm just call that an H1, and it says artist's theme. And then after that, I see a little kicker, and I'm going to call that a P with a class of kicker, or a lead paragraph, whatever you want to call it. And it's like a subtitle, right? Thinker, fancy slashes, designer, YouTuber. Now this is describing myself right now, but this is really, I want this to be really easy to be editable for anybody who's using this theme. And look at this whole content block is just, in these 15 lines of code. And I'm being liberal with how I space them out, and I'm being liberal with how I describe what I'm seeing here. Okay, so I think that's good right now for the markup. Let's get into styling this thing, and we're going to do that here. So header, I'm going to make it, what is this? Looks like about 450 height. In the background here I'm going to make it a little soft gray right now just so we can see it. I haven't extracted that image yet, so we need to get that background in there so we can kind of block it out. And then let's just jump into the logo. I said that it was a class of logo, and the height and width on this thing is, I believe, 100. It's 50 actually. And I'm using a bourbon mix-in, and I can say it's 50 px, and I'm going to call the background say it's a little darker at 999, and yeah, okay. And let's move on a little bit. We'll come back to that in a second. And let's say our nav element here, we want these links in here to be floating left. Actually, they already are left, but we want them to be block elements. So I'm going to call them display inline block, so that they can have a little bit of margin on their left side. How much margin? Looks like about 20 pixels of margin on the left side. That way they can be separated from each other nicely. And also, just styling wise, not structure wise, I want them to be font weight Was it 800 or 700? 700. Text transform. Uppercase. You can do this with Sass. You can say font weight, so size, what did I say, 14 pixels? Okay, let's, oh, and the color looks to be about black 70%. So I'm going to use an RGBA here. So color, zero, 0.7, and we'll check out how that worked out. Okay, so right now we have, oh, and the hover is turning into this blue, so let's nip that in the bud right now. We want to write and hover. Now this little character here is a keyword in Sass that means all of the selectors that have come before. So when this prints out, it'll be header nav a hover, not just, you know, randomly hover. So I want the color of the hover to be RGBA 0, oops, comma 0, 0 point, oh no, I want it to be 1. I want it to be solid black. So let's hover over it, and yeah, it gets nice black right there. Okay, so this is the 50 pixels by 50 pixels for our logo. Here is our navigation elements, separated by 20 pixels of margin on the left. Here is our headline, or our, what do I want to call that? It's like a hero, but I want to call that H1. And that's going to be, let's describe that. That's going to be 72 pixels bold. So font size 72 pixels. And weight 700, and color is going to be white. And text transform we want it to be uppercase. Let's take a look at it. Oh, it's nested inside the H1. See, this is inside the nav. That's why this wasn't rendering properly, because it's on the same level as an A. So I want to just be quick to outdent that, and now that'll be targeted that way. Fantastic. I want to add a little bit of letter spacing. And I'll add just a little bit, so 1.05 ems. And that should, yeah, that's quite nice. All right, now to get this box around the words, I'm going to actually have to go in and throw another element nested inside here. So I'm going to say, what is a span? It's non-semantic, it's just a span, it's just for decoration. And so what we'll do is we'll say, the H1 is going to be text align center. And then we're going to create a nested span nested span selector here. And we're going to say display inline block. And we want to give it padding of, let's say, 1 em to start with, and we can just measure from there. No, it's going to be 0.5 em. That's going to be really big. And then border to be white, solid, and about 10 pixels, I think. Let's see what we got. Ooh, look at that. So that margin, or sorry, that padding is a little heavy on the vertical. So we want to say 0.2 em. I think that's actually going to be from the sides. Okay, so it's going to be 0.5 em, 0.2 em, 0.5 em. Oh, that's quite nice. That's nearly exactly how we wanted it. I kind of like it. Okay, and then I have this line here, designer thinker, and that is 14 points, which is our default size, right? Let's make sure this is 14 points. Font size 14, yeah. Okay, and that was called a kicker. The kicker is also going to be centered. Text align center. I'm going to be font weight 700. The size is already good. Okay, so we don't need anything else. And then we want to say that it's going to be text transform uppercase. I like the idea of the letter spacing that I had here because I want it to mirror the size, just smaller, you know. And then the color is white. Okay, let's see what we got. That looks good, but we have too much of a margin here. Let's find out why. My H1 has a huge margin around it. So the H1 margin bottom, I'm going to take that down. Down to 10 pixels. Yeah, let's do 20. Now it's a little off because this line height should be 1. There we go. Perfect. So that looks really good for that lockup right there. And then up here for this logo and for the nav. The nav just needs to be, we're going to float this guy. Float right. And we'll give him some margin on the top and bottom. So I came down, looks like 30 pixels and what, 40 pixels? Is it on a grid or something? Okay. Yeah, let's keep it squared off. What is this, 10? Let's just say 30. So that'll say margin, 30 from the top, 30 from the right, 0 from the bottom, and 0 from the left. Okay, that is where we want it, except for this guy here, and our logo needs to be float. Float right, and his margins need to be top, I'm going to say 10 pixels, right 0, bottom 0, left 30. Let's see how we're doing there. Oh, float left. Tell me more. Okay, so now what's happening is because I floated these elements, my artist theme H1 element has I think a margin top of 20 or 30 or something like that. It's in ems actually, but it's kind of just like jumping up to the top, and it's being pushed into the left here and into the right here, and so it's offset and everything. What we really need to do is clear this navigation. We could do a clear fix right there, and that would fix everything. That's the lazy man's way. The proper way is to do here, clear both. Instead of doing the clear fix hack, just do it how it should be, both, clear both. And it should jump down where it should be. Great, 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 great. And now we have to figure out the padding top of the H1, because remember it's the span that's given us this white border. So the H1 will be right here, because that margin is still jumping up through this float. So let's say, actually let's measure it from here. It wants to be about 110, 100. So let's say padding top 100 pixels. Boop. Fantastic. Oh, that's nice. Look at that header. Oh, look at the way it scales down. Oh, it's so beautiful. That's great. Okay. So we have this all blocked out. What we need to do now is get the asset of the background and the logo. Now, this is going to be interesting. For the logo, we notice that it is it's a vector shape, and I want to keep it that way. So I'm going to grab my direct selection tool and just copy that. I'm going to open Illustrator. I'm going to make Illustrator small so we can fit it in this window here. Okay, and I'm going to create a new document in Illustrator, and I'm going to make it, let's see, for web, 50 pixels, right? And paste. Oof, that was bad. Copy. Paste. Okay, so this is asking me if I want it to be a compound shape or a compound path. I don't really care at this point. This is a really simple shape. Beautiful. And what I want to do is Command-Shift-S to save it as an SVG, and I'll call it logo SVG. I'll save it right down to the desktop, not directly into our project. And yes, confirm. Now what this is doing, Illustrator saves SVGs, but SVGs, remember, they are vectors, but vectors are code. So if I look at this in my quick look, obviously it's a big, huge image with nice, clean lines here. But what I want to do is actually drag this SVG down to my code editor, and look what happens. It opens up an SVG like document, right? This is interesting. So what I can do, I can jump over to my includes and create a folder called icons and a new document called logo.html. And I'm going to, where did it go? Okay. And I'm going to copy this SVG code right there and paste it right in. One thing I want to get rid of is this view box thing. It kind of screws me up. And then that's it. Okay. So what this has done is now I have an HTML page with a SVG shape inside of it. And then I can include it into my header right here, just like we did before with a double mustache, double percent, where's the percent? There we go. And then we want to call it icons slash, no, we want to say include icons slash logo.html. Hold on to your butts. I'm not sure if this will work. And then refresh. Oh, look at that. Our logo appeared right inside of our box. Now, the logo is blue. I guess I should have saved it as black, but you know what? That doesn't matter because The logo is like that color is defined right here, 000. And refresh, it's black. So now this is cool because look at it, this is actually a property. If I take this off entirely, I don't even know what color it'll be. I think it'll be default to black. Okay, so we can go into our CSS for the header and say, background, don't talk about it. And then for the SVG, again, we're going to look at the logo HTML. There's an SVG GG path, and path is the one we want to apply the color to. So we would say path, and then fill is the property, and we can say I want it to be RGBA, and I want it to be 70%. So black is 0.7. Let's take a look at the magic. Oh, wow. Okay, so and now when we zoom in, look at how crisp and clear that logo is going to be for us forever and ever and ever. And we can control the color of it, and we can even like stroke it, and not stroke it, but apply a stroke to it and stuff. Really, really cool, really classy. We're going to use that a lot later as well, this technique. But I like that because it's not using those HTTP requests. If we look at our compiled markup, it's right in there. It's right in there. So I'm not calling the server for like a icon font or anything, or an external SVG or an image asset. It's like right in the markup. So like it's super fast. Not waiting on any requests from the server. Super cool. Okay, what do we need? The background image. Okay. Oh, this is a lot lighter. What is this? 40%. Okay. Stylish. Ooh. Okay. This header image is really beautiful shot of the coast of California, and it is taken by goodness, it's from gratisography.com. Bell's Design, I don't know. So this guy takes these pictures that are really good, and he's quite talented, and he lets you use the images for free, and he doesn't require attribution. It's just a really nice thing. Let's look for this. There it is. I'll download it again because I want it in full resolution, and say background URL dash images hero-bg.jpg. And we'll see what we get. Yay! Okay, see how it's tiling there? Our website is a little bit wider than 1,000 pixels, and that is super fantastic fine. We want to make sure that it got center, CE, and I don't care if it repeats, so I'm not going to say anything, but now it's centering that image. That's fine. And I don't want to see the repeat. I actually want to stretch that image. So I'm going to say background dash size, and I'm going to say cover. Cover is like one of the coolest CSS properties to ever hit background images. It was like awesome when it came out. What it does, it'll stretch this image just to cover the size in proportion. So it'll start cutting off the bottom and the top as long as the edge hits. And when I hit refresh, you'll see what I mean. See how it stretched it? And then when this gets wider, it'll either show or hide the information on the bottom or top. And so see when it hits that apex right there, like that aspect ratio is right about there. That's seeing pretty much the whole image. Now I'm going to cut it from the side. I'm cutting in from the top. See, it's cool, great. That's like really wonderful for responsive design. Helps you can show full width images to cover the whole place. I'm just talking too much. This is cool. 1, 2, great. It looks like we got a really good start on our header. The footer for this design also uses that little image. Ooh, cool. Ooh, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do the footer. Actually, yeah. So assets, sections, new file _ footer dot sass. and sections directory footer. There we are. Now I want to create an include called footer. This is just like we did for our header, set.html. And now I'm going to go into my index and include the footer after the paragraph, right before the end. And footer. Cool. All right. So let's describe that footer in the footer.html. I have a footer. And I have a, I'm going to call this a div class lockup. O-C-K-U-P. Okay. And in that lockup, I have a div. I have this actually. I have the header information. Basically, I have this stuff, right? And then I also have another guy right here called div class. Actually, it's a paragraph called copyright. And in there, I want to put all content copyright 2014. These guys are going to be grouped together, and so they're going to need to be in a div. And I'll call it content rep in this div. And then you'll be nested in one. Okay. That looks good. Let's see how that turned out. Okay. What? All right. Oh, this height, I was worried about this height. This height is based on the default size of this logo, even though it's that viewport thing. That'll be fine. We'll be fine. So let me show you what we're going to do. I'm going to go over to footer sass and say footer. First thing I'm going to do is do that same on the background of the header. Okay, that's good. And then I have a lockup here, and then inside that logo. So class lockup, margin is going to be 50. No, it's going to be 30 pixels, and so I'm going to have 30 pixels around these things, and then I want to get this content floating to the left of this logo. So this logo is going to need to be taken care of. Logo. It needs to be size 50 pixels. This needs to be a plus sign. So again, that's that bourbon include, or the bourbon mix in to give me the size. Okay, cool. 30 pixels. We'll just say padding then. Okay, and let's float this content. Content wrap float left. Oh, this logo needs to float left too. Margin dash right is going to be 30 pixels. Let's see what we got. Okay. Ooh. On our footer, we're going to clear fix here. And that is included in Bourbon. Clear fix. Cool. That's looking good. Is that looking like what we wanted? Oh, this is going to be a bit bigger. That's going to be about 50. Well, what did we say here? 30? I'm going to say 30 from the side, 50 from the top and bottom. Oh, that's nice. Oh, it's going to need a clear fix too. These things are floating up inside it. Actually, let's just bring that clear fix down to the lockup. That's why this size under it wasn't right. That'll be good. Okay, that'll be maybe a little too much. It's because of this guy. Content wrap. Let's take care of this, what I call it, copyright. Margin 0, text align, or text transform, uppercase. And the size of it, I think we'll do 12 font. Yeah, 12, and color is 40% transparent. So what is it? Size, font size? 12. And color is RGBA. Where are you, A? There we are. 0000.4. Oh, I like it. Okay, cool. And then these colors need to be about the same as they were before. Now we have an interesting thing that's happening here. This font size, 14, bold, uppercase, happens quite a few in this design. Here's another instance of it, 14, bold, uppercase, all throughout here. There's quite a few places, 14, bold, uppercase. Not just this, these two places. So what would be a good idea to do would be to abstract that style into a more reusable pattern. And so I'd go into my tools here. I'm going to create a new file called placeholders.sas. And then I got to pull that in with my imports. You know what? Actually, maybe I don't want it there. I want it in the base. Yeah, I want it in the base near my vars, after my vars. So I'm going to get it out of here. Now, what placeholders are, they're going to be little snippets of code that help me to kind of organize and reuse code, similar to mix. Actually, I'm going to use them in conjunction with mix-ins to make the code more efficient and fast. Instead of rewriting things out over and over again, I'm just going to collect the selectors actually around the placeholder. So let me show you how that works. In the placeholders, I'm going to create one. It's called percent. What should I call this? Small block title? I don't know. Ooh, is this the same one? 14 bold. 14 bold. Yeah, so there's another one. Okay. I'll just call that small bold. I'll just call it small bold. And then in small bold, I want to come over to save. Yeah. Word a header, and where's the, yeah, pretty much that. Placeholders. Font size 14, weight 7, text transform uppercase, small bold is what I'm calling that. And now I'm going to run back over to all of the places where I put in this block of text, kind of, and say at extend small, actually percent, where's percent? Percent small bold. I don't use this. This is the first time I've been using this a lot. I've just been reading about it last week. Let's see if it makes a difference. Looks like we're all right. Cool. So every time we did that, font weight 700, uppercase. Yeah. And we want to do the same style to the navigation at the bottom of the footer. So what is this going to be called in the nav? Let's look at my footer markup. Footer markup says, yeah, content wrap nav A class. Content wrap. Okay, also basically all the A's are going to have that extend small bold look. And there they are. And I want to make my colors. What is it? It's like 7, right? 0.7, and then that hover and hover is going to be color full color. So RGBA 0001. Okay, and then I also want to give these guys a margin. What is it? Display inline block margin right 30 pixels so that they can have that. Was it 20 or 30? It's 30 now. So they can have that space between the elements. Is it 20 or 30? Oh, that's 35. Yeah, it's 30. We'll still keep it 30. They're a lot lighter. In the footer, it looks like we use a lighter tint. So, oh, we are coming from 70. Huh. Does that look 70? Let's do 5. Okay, so 50% opaque, and then we'll take it up to 70, so 0.07% opaque. Okay, cool. And now looks like the footer's done. Contacts, clients, about me, copyright, the logo. Okay, so this effect of the logo here, that's actually my bad because it's actually a layer style in Photoshop of overlay. So we can't really get it totally looking like that. I mean, that looks really, really cool, but I don't think that's going to be totally possible with code because we can't do overlay styles totally yet. We can with some filters, but they're kind of unreliable at this point. So let's just do logo. Remember, it's what is it? Path? Is that right? Where's our icon? Yeah, it's path. Okay. Path fill is going to be, RGB A 0.7. 3. Oh. Huh, I wonder why the margin's left in here. Content wrap. Oh, I put an S. Okay. Yeah, that's a hard one. Let's make it a little bit more opaque and we'll call it good. Let's say 5. Yeah, that's good. One last thing I wanted to do before we wrap up is take advantage of some of the templating systems that are built into Jekyll. So for example, in the header, I have my headline and my subline here, my kicker. These things could be more dynamic. In fact, in my configuration file, my config.yaml, here I have a title and the description actually defined. So if I go into my header and I write mustache, 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 close mustache, site.title, and then I write down here site.description and save. I have to restart that server because the configure file is only read once on the configuration when Jekyll runs. Now look, there's no changes at all. But if I change now, go to configure and change this to something else like my theme, and then refresh, we notice that the headline is changed down to my theme. So this is going to make it easier for when another person opens up this theme and they can enter in their email, they can enter in the description of the site. Let me move that up a little bit. And that way it's like more, CMS-y, more template-y, and it's easier to use for other people. And there we are. That's the end of the first video. I'm pretty happy with where we're at. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to refactor a bit, but right now it's looking pretty good. I'm going to jump back into Trello and take a look at our progress. For the head and footer, we've got that background image, we've got the logo all done, and that's great. We can actually move this card header and footer actually past development and into complete. I'm going to put this as a QA for quality assurance. It's not actually complete until the whole thing is complete. But once all the cards are in this column, I'll take another pass and review everything and make sure it all looks good and operates the way I want. I have a feeling that these things are going to move back and forth a little bit as I update my expectations for this project. In the next video, we're going to look at the personality and the about section, so I'll just move that in development right now. And we'll see you guys next week.